Shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome to another Sabbath class with Sons of Isaac Israelite Congregation. And of course, before we start our class, we're going to send up our prayers, and we're going to give all honor and praise unto the Most High Power, and honor and reverence to His Son, Yahweh Shai Mashiach, for dying for our sins and just allowing us to be here, man, and share this gospel with you and this truth. All right, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to send up our prayers. So we'll rise and we'll face the east. And we'll also, of course, we're going to say the holy prayer in the Hebrew language. All right, Lashon Kodash. Then we'll also have the English translation of it according to Matthew chapter 6 and the 9th verse. So we'll rise to face the east then. Blessed be to you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai. Please hear our prayers. Father, we thank you for just allowing us to gather here on this holy and blessed Sabbath day, which you have given us as a day of rest. Please, O Lord, just allow your Holy Spirit to resonate within us and just allow us to be able to discern all things, Heavenly Father. Allow us, O Lord, to understand the aspects of good and evil, O Lord, to sharpen our senses, for us to be able to rightly discern the spirits, O Lord, that come against us. Please, Heavenly Father, just touch the mouths of your teachers and just allow us to speak with knowledge and with wisdom and understanding. We ask in the name of Yahweh Shai. Amen. Abanawa Shabbat Shemayim Kodash Aya Shemka Yahweh Malakwaka Tawaha Ratazaka Aya Aisha Barataza Kuwa Aya Bashamayim Nathanawa Lakam Za Yawam Basalaknawa Kabawaknawa Kasalaknawa Kabawaknawa Walaha Kawayanawa Balasaiwan Kaba Hawashainawa Man Rai Kaya Laka Amalakwa Wala Wata Para the Amalumi, the Wadi Hawa, the Wadi Hawashai. Amen. Now for the Lord's Prayer in English according to Matthew chapter 6 and the 9th verse. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Amen. All right, you may be seated. Again, welcome to another Sabbath class with Sons of Isaac Israelite Congregation. Teacher Korash Allah, and this is teacher Yaquar Yisrael. And of course, tonight's lesson, we're going to go into what we call Greek abominations and Hellenization. All right, so we're just going to go into some of the abominable practices of the Greeks. All right, and then also, see the process of Hellenization that, occurred, of course, with our people. All right, the children of Israel. Okay, so nonetheless, all right, my brother, he's going to. You're not going to see us, so you're going to see the screen is with the PowerPoint presentation that we do have here. So my brother's going to share the screen with you guys, so you'll be able to see it. All right. So go ahead and share the screen with him. So of course, I hope everybody can see. All right. So I hope everybody can see. You know what I'm saying? The PowerPoint that we have in place. Presenting. All right, there we go. So now again, I hope everybody can see the PowerPoint that is in place right now. Of course, again, as I said, it's called a Greek abominations and Hellenization. All right. So definitely just follow along with us. You can always go back and check the video again to get any information that you may miss or whatnot. So just feel free to do so. All right. It's not real long or lengthy, but you know what? It has some information that you can go back and you can definitely check out. All right. So go to the next slide. Hold on. You have to. Hold on a second. How did I do it last time? Hold on 1 second, everybody. Hold on 1 second. You have to go back to the PowerPoint. Now, let me know if you can still see everything, if it moves. All right, you do see that? Go back to the, oh, there we go. Okay, there we go. So, can you still see it? All right. So now, this is of course, as I said before, there's a presentation on the Greek abominations and Hellenization. So first off, we got to find out who were the original Greeks, right? Because now the Greeks that we know and come to believe as the actual Greeks are, they are of what they would call Indo-European descent, all right? But originally, the original Greeks were actually a Japhetic people, all right? And as we'll read here in the book of Genesis chapter 10, let's start at verse 1. So that you'll be able to see, this is called the Table of Nations, all right? And you'll see that after the flood, every nation that you see upon the face of the earth now came from the three sons of Shem, the three sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, all right? So now we're reading about the eldest son, Japheth, okay? Go ahead, Art.
Genesis 10:1. Now these are the generations of the sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And until then were sons born after the flood.
Right. So now these are sons that were born to them after the flood. Okay. So now we see that they had children. All right. Go ahead.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javin, and Tubal, and Meshach, and Tiras.
Right. So now these are all of the sons of Japheth. All right. So now I really want you guys to key in to I believe the fourth son, all right, which is actually Javan, okay, because it's going to show you that he is the father of your Greek people. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 3, and the sons of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Repath, and Togarmah, and the sons of Javan, Elisha, and Tarshish, Kittim, and Donaman. By these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands.
Right. So now you see that we have, these are the sons, okay? So now these are the sons of Japheth, all right? So now, as I said before, the sons of Japheth were Gomer, Magog, Madai, Jovan, Tubal, Meshach, Tiras, right? And it says, and the sons of Gomer were Ashkenaz, Riplah, Togarmah, okay? So now you see we have the sons of Javan are Elisha, Tarshish, Kittim, and Dodanim, right? So those are the sons of Javan, all right? So those sons will consist of your Greek peoples today, all right? So that's why it said, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands to everyone after their tongue, after their family, and their nation, all right? So, of course, the isles of the Gentiles is speaking about, of course, what we know as like the Aegean Sea region, right, which was called Greece, what we know as Europe, you know, Spain, all of those areas, right, Britain, Ireland, you know, Scotland, all of those different regions and stuff. That's where Japheth began to occupy. Those were his families began to settle, all right, according to their tongues, all right, their languages, their families, or their bloodlines, and also their nations, okay? Okay, so now Let's go on to the next one. So now it says that this is the etymology, right? So now we're dealing with this is in the Hebrew 3120, all right, Yavan, okay, probably the same as 3196, excavating. An example, hot or active, Javan, the name of the son of Joktan and of the race of the Ionians. An example, Greeks, descended from him, whether their territory, with their territory, also a place in Arabia, Javan, all right? So, of course, as we can see, he is the father of your Greek peoples, of your original Greek people, all right? Before Alexander and his father Philip had came to what we know as, Greece and took over and populated the place for themselves, all right? Let's go to the next slide now. So now let's open up to the book of First Maccabees, chapter 1, and let's start at verse 1.
First Maccabees 1:1.
Now this is what you're about to read is actual prophecy that was spoken of by Daniel. All right, real quick before we go there, let's go to the book of Daniel real quick. Let's go to the book of Daniel, chapter 7. So before we hit First Maccabees, we read Maccabees. Let's hit Daniel chapter 7 real quick. Read 7 and verse 3.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 3.
Go ahead.
And the four great beasts came up from the sea, diverse one from another.
Drop down and then read verse 5.
Daniel
actually, I'm sorry, verse 6.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 6.
So now, as it said four great beasts that came up from the sea, diverse one from another. All right. Now we're about to see the third beast. All right. So you had the Babylonians, that was the first beast. Then you had the Persians and your Medes. Now you have another kingdom coming up. But let's find out what that kingdom is. Go ahead.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 6. After this I beheld, and lo, another like a leopard, which had upon the back of it 4 wings of fire. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it.
Right. So now this is talking about your Greek Empire. Okay. So now, as we move on through the presentation, you'll see exactly what we're talking about. So now let's go back to First Maccabees 1:1. So now let's see if this actually happened. All right. So in Daniel's time, it was actual prophecy, okay, that this was going to happen. All right. So now you'll see that almost hundreds of years later, you'll see that this actually happened. Okay. Read that in First Maccabees now.
First Maccabees 1:1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Chittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and the Medes.
So now you see right there. So it says, and it happened after that Alexander, the son of Philip, all right, Philip of Macedon, okay, it says the Macedonian who came out of the land of Chittim. So remember, we saw that Chittim was one of the sons of Jovan, right? So it's talking about that this man, Alexander, the son of Philip, came out of Greece, okay? And it said what? It has smitten Darius, which is Darius III, the king of the Persians and the Medes. It says that he reigned in his stead the first over what?
Over Greece.
The first over all of Greece, all right? So when you get into Greek history, you'll see that, of course, Macedon, all right, was a very powerful military state, all right, on the rise, okay? You see Philip had took over, and of course he had his young son Alexander, all right, which was one of his young generals. And then also you'll see after Philip's assassination, his son Alexander took over, all right, but they still had many small rebellions amongst the Greek nations that they still had to crush, all right. So once they solidified their power in Greece, then they began to go on their conquest, all right. Go ahead. Read on.
It's done. There. Go to
yeah, go to the next slide. So this is the Greek Empire, 333 BC to about 168 BC. All right. So they had about 165 plus years of rulership. Okay. So all of that was basically prophesied. Go back to the last one. Yeah. So all of this was actually prophesied in the scriptures of Esau's rise to power. Go to this one. Of Esau's actual rise to power. Okay. So now you can write down, of course, Esau, the blessing of Esau, which is dealing in Genesis chapter 27. Okay, 38 through 40, which also talks about how he will have the dew of heaven and how he will live by the sword, all of that. Okay, how he'll break his yoke up off his brother, how he will break the yoke off of his neck of his brother, right? Meaning that he will no longer be under bondage to his brother. All right. How all of that came to pass. Okay, so all of this came to happen in 333 BC. All right, with Alexander, the son of Philip. Okay, the Macedonian. All right, he reigned and became the first king over all of Greece. Go ahead. Go to the next slide. So now, as you can see, this was the vision. Go back up. Sorry. So now you'll see that this is the vision in which, of course, Alexander had. All right. Excuse me if we having some technical difficulties with the PowerPoint. Just bear with us here. So as you can see, you saw the leopard with the 4 wings, had the 4 wings of a fowl. Well, the 4 wings of a fowl are dealing with the 4 generals of Alexander. All right. So read some of them, bro. Lysimachus,
Trace, Helen Point, Pergamum.
So as you see, the territories that Lysimachus ruled over were Thrace, the Hellespont, and also dealing with Pergamum. Okay, so that was all in Asia Minor. All right, so he deal with Thrace, which was in Greece, the Hellespont, which is in Asia Minor, and also Pergamum, which is in Asia Minor. Go ahead.
Cassander, Macedonia, Greece.
All right, so Alexander's second general, Cassander. Okay, he had Macedonia. All right, which was the original homeland of the Greeks. Then also he had all of Greece. Okay, so he was king. He was basically the ruler over Greece. All right. So remember, Alexander ruled from Babylon. Okay, remember, he did not go back to Greece. All right, Alexander's conquest was to go push further into what we know as India, right? But his attempts to go into India failed. All right, because he lost in the battle of Hidespi to who we know as Porus. All right. So read the next one.
Seleucus.
So we have Seleucus, all right, who ruled what? He ruled what? Go ahead, read.
Asia Minor.
Right, so he ruled all of Asia Minor. Go ahead.
Babylonia.
And Babylonia, okay? So it's showing you the territories in which these men of Alexander's generals actually ruled, okay? So real quick, let's go back to the Apocrypha and let's get this. So let's hit chapter. Let's go back to chapter 1 and hit verse 6.
Maccabees.
Yeah, First Maccabees.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and 6. Wherefore he called his servants, such as was honorable.
So the servants in which Alexander is actually calling, these are the 4 generals which you see, which are the 4 wings. Okay, go ahead.
And had been brought up with him from his youth, and parted his kingdom among them, while he was yet alive.
So we said now they parted his kingdom while he was yet alive. So now we're seeing how he parted his kingdom exactly to his generals. All right. So they each had a portion of his empire which they ruled. All right. So you see, that's Lysimachus. We see Thrace, Cassander, Macedonia, which was Greece, Seleucus, Asia Minor, and Babylonia, which we dealing with practically all of Iran. All right. And read the next one.
Ptolemy, Egypt, Syrinx, Cyprus, Palestine, and Lycia.
Right. So those are the areas in which Ptolemy had occupied. Okay. Egypt, Cyrene, Cyprus, the island of Cyprus, Palestine, which is Israel, and then Lycia. All right. Those are the areas in which they occupied. Okay. So as you continue, when you continue reading the book of First Maccabees, you'll see that there were various wars that were fought between Ptolemy or Ptolemy and Seleucus, all right, for control of Palestine. Okay, so it was like a war that was going on back and forth between the two. Okay, so it was those wars were called the Syrian Wars. All right, so in the book of Maccabees, when you finish in the first Maccabees, when you get like to verse 16, I believe it talks about they were like in the 6th Syrian war, so they had been fighting for years. Seleucus and Ptolemy had been fighting for years, man. You know, against each other. Read on. Read verse 7. I'm sorry.
First Maccabees 1 and 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
So he died at the age of 32, man. Go ahead.
Verse 8, and his servants bare rule, everyone in his place.
Right, so the places are the places that we just read. Go ahead.
And after his death, they all put crowns upon themselves.
So they all crowned themselves kings of their own region, all right? So remember, they had one king, and that was Alexander. Remember, they were just the governors of the provinces that they controlled under Alexander. Go ahead.
So did their sons after them many years.
So even their sons also began to call themselves kings, all right? When they only had one king over that ruled over Greece, and that was Alexander, all right? So even though Alexander had an heir, they disregarded him, all right? And they still took rulership upon themselves because each one of them still had military might, all right, in their own place, okay? And you'll see the strongest of the 4 generals was Seleucus, all right, and Ptolemy was second. Okay, so now read on.
And evils were multiplied in the earth.
And read that one more time.
And evils were multiplied in the earth.
And it said evils were multiplied in the earth at this time. All right. So of course, and so this is how you see, this is how really the earth began to become really messed up. I'm talking about blood-filled, bloodshed, all of that. All right, is when these Edomites, all right, or these Indo-Europeans had began to take power. Okay, let's go ahead. So if you're looking at the PowerPoint online, it's going to go to a picture of Alexander. All right, so now it may take a minute for those who are looking at it. For those who are checking it out, hold on one second. Let me see. Slow. Yeah, it's still moving kind of slow. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why it's doing that. But of course, nonetheless. Oh yeah, it's just straight there. All right, so of course, as you see, this is the picture of Alexander. This is what he looked like. All right, when you check out the movie Alexander, of course, you know what's his name? Colin Farrell played a dynamic role as the first king over Greece. All right, in the conquest, okay, or his conquest of Persia. All right, so now let's go to the next one. So he led a bloody campaign, man, of just what we know as Hellenization, or the Hellenizing of the nations. So now read this part, bro.
Hellenization, American English or Hellenization British, is the historical spread of ancient Greek culture and, to a lesser extent, language over foreign peoples conquered by Greeks or brought into their sphere of influence.
The sphere of influence, all right, meaning their political control. Go ahead.
Particularly during the Hellenistic period following the campaigns of Alexander the Great, King Macedon, 336 through 323 BCE.
Right. So now, as you can see, now that's what Hellenization actually was. All right. It was the spread of Greek culture. That's what it was. All right. So now, when you're realizing, when you see, man, when it talks about how the Jews were affected by this, okay, the spread of Greek culture within their land. All right. That's why I said how a lot of those Jews began to do what? adopt the ideas of the Greeks, the philosophy, right, in their culture. All right, the way they dress, the way they act, the way they talk, all of that. They adopted every single last inch of Greek culture. And that's how many of the other nations, man, that align themselves with the Greeks, this is what they did also. Okay. So now let's go ahead and read.
The result of Hellenization was the elements of Greek origin combined in various forms and degrees with local elements.
Go ahead. So they began to mix their culture with other locals. Okay, go ahead.
These Greek influences spread from the Mediterranean basins as far east as modern-day Pakistan.
Right. So now, as you can see from in the next slide, it's going to show you a map. All right, of just how far. So when it talks about the Mediterranean basin, all right. So basically, from their homeland all the way down there to what we know as modern-day Pakistan. All right. Go ahead.
In modern times, Hellenization has been associated with the adoption of modern Greek culture and the ethnic and cultural homogenization of Greece.
So now let's go to the book of First Maccabees. You can go to the next slide. All right. So the map that you're looking at. So we're gonna start at chapter 1 and read verse 1 again. All right. But as you can see, this is the map that I was talking about. If everybody can see it, I'm online. All right. It may for those who most likely cannot just yet. All right. It should be popping up now. All right. But as you can see, it says from the Mediterranean basin, right there where you see Greece, you see all of Greece right there, right? So you see Sparta. Sparta was still independent at that time. All right. You had Euripus, which still was like an independent nation in Greece at that time. So you had all of that right there. And now it's all the way to what we know as modern day Pakistan, right? Going all, like really towards the borders of India itself. All right. So I remember reading a while back, man, that when Alexander tried to take his conquest into India, it said that he was going to be met, if he wouldn't have gotten past Porus, he was going to be met with a force of almost 300,000 men, all right, or 300,000 East Indians that was waiting for him. You know what I mean? Like if you ever watched the movie Alexander, man, it was crazy. You see, like, a lot of his men, they were tired, man. They wanted to go home, and be with their wives or whatever the case may be, but he was still hungry for conquest. He wanted to go further, right? But the Most High, man, gave him the extent of his empire, and that was it. Okay, he said, I gave you the Persian kingdom, because all he did was just take over the Persian Empire. That's it. He defeated Darius in the Battle of Granicus, Galamela, and the Battle of Iscus. Once he defeated them, shoot, that was it, man. He took over all of their territory. That's pretty much about it. They said Alexander had one of the largest, largest territories in history, or the largest empire in history, which is complete BS. He took it from the Persians. That's how he was able to gain his power, man. Of course, he did something that was unheard of, taking 40,000 Greeks. You know what I mean? Along with others, he drafted in his military and conquered the one of the largest military forces in the world at that time, which was the Persians, almost at 250,000. All right, but nonetheless, the Most High, like it says, man, he's the one who sets nations in power. He's the one who gives them control over the entire earth as he sees fit. All right. So this was Esau's time to rule the entire earth. Okay. But of course, you want to get technical, man. The one who had the largest empire, I believe, was Genghis Khan. Yep, Genghis Khan, man. I think he ruled over 4 million square miles, man. From what we know as modern day China, all the way to what we know as Europe. Shoot, he was like at the damn near the steps of Rome, man. He was knocking at the Romans' door. The Romans feared that man. We're not talking about the white ones either. We're talking about the black brothers, the brothers that was ruling Rome at that time. All right, during the Dark Ages. So let's read that in First Maccabees chapter 1 and read verse 1.
First Maccabees chapter 1 and 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip and Macedonia, who came out of the land of Chittim, and smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, that he reigned in his stead, the first over Greece.
So he's the first king over Greece, all right, which was also prophesied by Daniel, all right. Go ahead.
And made many wars and won many strongholds.
So he said he made many wars and won many strongholds, right? Go ahead.
And slew the kings of the earth.
And slew many of the kings of the earth, right? So remember, during this process right here, this is what you would call Hellenization, right? It's not showing you, right, but it's just giving you like a brief, abridged detail, man, of what Alexander was doing, all right? So it's pretty much showing you, like, yes, the process of Hellenization was coming through him, all right? But he was doing this as he was conquering many of these nations that he encountered. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 3. And went through to the ends of the earth and took the spoils of many nations.
And he went through the ends of the earth and spoiled many nations. Spoiled many of them, okay? we're talking about nations, man, that have been around since the very beginning, strong nations. We talk about kingdoms. This man was taken down, okay? Go ahead.
Insomuch that the earth was quiet before him.
Insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. This is how fast and how powerful Alexander was moving. All right, go ahead.
Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
So he was exalted, man, by many of the nations, man, afraid of him. Okay, that's why I said the sphere of influence that the Greeks had, man. So remember, many of the nations that did not fight, they aligned themselves with Alexander. Okay, that's why I said his heart was lifted up, meaning that at that point he was filled with pride. Okay, he was very prideful at this point. Go ahead.
Verse 4, and he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries and nations and kings who became tributaries unto him.
Exactly. The nations that he controlled. Okay, so it says he gathered a mighty strong host and ruled over countries, nations, and kings who became tributaries unto him. All right. So from there, let's move on to the next part. So now we're dealing with the nations that were Hellenized. Okay. So now, don't be ignorant, just to understand, man, the Jews weren't the only ones that were Hellenized. All right. Many nations were Hellenized at this point. Okay. So this is why you have to really rightly divide the word. And many of those scholars, man, understand that. Christian scholars, the real ones, they know and understand, man, everybody that was Hellenized. All right. That's why when you look at the word Greek in the Bible, right, it says that Timotheus, it says that his father was a Greek, his mother was a Jewess, right? Well, damn. There were many other Greeks or many other nations that called themselves by the name of Greek. You see why everybody just says, oh, well, Greeks, you're looking at Greeks that's pertaining to them, to everybody. So you had Jews that were Greeks. You had, let's read the list. Read the list, bro, and it'll show you.
During the Hellenistic period, following the death of Alexander the Great, considerable numbers of Assyrians, Jews, Egyptians, Persians, Parthians, Armenians, and a number of other ethnic groups along the Balkans, Black Sea, Southeastern Mediterranean, Anatolia, Middle East, and Central Asia were Hellenized.
Now check that out. Now really, really, really pay attention to this. So he says during the Hellenization period, following the death of Alexander, considerable numbers of Assyrians, right? Jews, of course, Israelites, Egyptians, which are your African Hamites, your Persians, okay, which are your children of Elam, your Parthians, Armenians, and it says that a number of other ethnic groups, all right? So we're talking about children of Japheth, which going to the Balkans and the Black Sea, southeastern Mediterranean, the Antiola, the Middle East, right? Talking about like Arabia and all of that, Central Asia, all were Hellenized at this point. So you see that they controlled a very vast portion of the land, all right? And they Hellenized a great number of peoples. Okay, go ahead. Bacterians.
The Bactrians and Iranian ethnic groups who lived in Bactria, northern Afghanistan, were Hellenized during the reign of the Greco Bactrian kingdom, and soon after various tribes of northwestern regions of the Indian subcontinent, modern Pakistan, underwent the Hellenization during the reign of the Indo-Greek kingdom.
The Indo-Greek kingdom, right? Go ahead.
Other tribes that underwent varying degrees of Hellenizations include the Thracians, Dardanians, Pannonians, and the Lycurians south of the Jurassic line, and the even Gattae.
Right. So now we're talking about a lot of the Japhetic nations, man, that were also Hellenized in the process of the Greeks' reign. All right, the Indo-Greek kingdom. All right, or your Edomite kingdom. All right, pretty much is what it's saying, man. So they pretty much they Hellenized the children of Japheth as well. All right. So many nations, man, began to be affected by, of course, what we know as the Greek culture. Okay. That's why you still see so much of it, even still to this very day. All right. So much of the Greek culture still has a very heavy influence over many of the nations, man, in which we see today. All right. Even here in America. All right. This Greco-Roman society that we live in. All right. So that's one thing we definitely can't get twisted. Okay. But let's go back to the first Maccabees real quick. And let's drop down and let's read verse 10.
First Maccabees 1 and 10.
Mm-hmm.
And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus, the king, who had been in hostage at Rome.
Go ahead.
And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks.
So in the 137th year of the Greek kingdom, which is 175 BC. All right. This man came into power. Go ahead.
In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow.
Right. So these Israelites, right? So these are Israelite leaders, man. We departed from them. We've been affected, man, with all this pain and suffering, man. So you know what? We need to make an alliance again with the heathen that are around about us. All right. Go ahead.
Verse 12. So this device pleased them well.
So this device pleased many of the Israelites, man, that were following them. This pleased them very well. Okay. Go ahead.
Verse 13. Then the certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen.
So of course, so he said that certain of the people were so forward therein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. So now you see that, of course, they went to the government of the Greeks, and they said, well, you know what, we want to do business. All right. So they began to get licenses or their little permits, man, and began to do after the customs of the Greek nation, right? They followed their laws, all of that. Okay. And as we go into the next couple of slides, man, we're gonna show you, and you're gonna see, man, what was a part of Greek law and society, all right, at this time, man. And you see that our people were following this madness. Okay, go ahead.
Verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen.
So now it says they went in to build places of exercise, right? When you look up the word exercise in the Greek, it'll say gymnasio, right? Which is the Greek word for naked. So they were basically exercising naked, which the Greeks did. Go ahead.
Verse 15, and made themselves uncircumcised and forsook the holy covenant and joined themselves to the heathen and were sold to do mischief.
Now it said that they made themselves uncircumcised, right? So once they forsook the holy covenant, man, they basically made themselves profane, unclean, right? Because that's what happens when a man is uncircumcised. He's still unclean in the eyes of the Most High, right? So So then he says, and forsook the holy covenant, so they were no longer following the laws, statutes, and commandments at all. Okay, they literally basically placed themselves as Greeks. All right, go ahead.
Verse 16. Now, when the kingdom was established before Antiochus, he thought.
So that was it. So now let's go ahead. Let's move on with the PowerPoint. So now, as you can see, this is artwork, man, dealing with the Greeks. All right. And for those that can see it, man, you see that the Greeks, like it says, when it says they built a place of exercise, yes, they were exercising naked. When it talks about they were working out, they worked out naked. Like, say, for instance, when you go to the gym, right, in today's times, right, in this Greco-Roman society, you go to the gym, why is it so much of a flesh fest? You see everybody naked in there. You see women in the tightest little spandex, booty showing off, yoga pants, all of that, man.
Especially the
you know what I'm saying? In the locker room, men walking around naked, going into the pool with just a towel on, jumping in naked. You see the Greeks did that too. So it shows you, man, the type of society that we in right now. Okay. Go ahead. So now, read this, my brother. So this is dealing with the Greek acceptance of pedophilia, right? So now you're going to see that the Greeks, yes, they were a kingdom of pedophiles. But let's read what it was called, man, and what they practiced originally. Go ahead.
The Greek word for homosexual love between a man and a youth was pederastia, hence pederasty, derived from the pious boy and herein to love, meaning emotional and sensual affection for a pious.
Right. So now check that out. So now really analyze that. All right. For those that can see the slide. So it says it derives from the word patis, right, which is boy, and Aaron, which is to love, meaning emotionally and sensually affected for a boy, right? So these Greeks had love for boys, young boys. All right, go ahead.
A common synonym for beloved boys in Greek writing is paideia, the boyish. The youths who attracted men's attention range in age from adolescent to early manhood, and can be seen from the images that have come down to us on Greek pottery and sculptures.
Oh, yeah.
Relationships with overly young boys were frowned upon then as they are now, though some Greek beloved youths will have fallen below the age of consent in many modern countries. One mark of a beloved right for a man's attention being the ability to think for himself.
So pretty much, man, if we're gonna show you the pottery, you know what I'm saying, you go to the pottery that's next. So pretty much, man, it wasn't socially acceptable, but it was accepted. All right. So if a man did sit there and take a boy to court or whatnot, then nobody say anything about it. All right, because they were at the time and place where they were able to think for themselves. All right. So now, as you can see the artwork, as you can see, like, look, this is what they portrayed, man. Look at that. You can see the difference. You see the grown man, and you see the grown man has the beard, and the boy has no beard, right? So as you can see in all of the little pottery that's here, right, and the paintings on the wall, the middle one is like a painting on the wall. So those are teenage boys that they're dealing with, right? Like from maybe 13 or 14 years old. And you can see this is a boy right here from the ages of ranging from 7. All right. So these Greeks, man, they were like pedophiles for real. All right. So, man, it's like literally disgusting, man, a disgusting culture in which these Greeks had, man. But as you can see, man, that it's crazy, man, because it said that many other nations, man, they practice the same thing, right? You see what I'm saying? They do it in the Islamic culture. You know what I mean? They do it in many other cultures, even here in America, right? It's frowned upon here in America, right? You can get arrested and go to jail for it, but at the same time, behind closed doors in the dark, in their society, they do it all the time, man. And they don't frown upon it when it's amongst themselves. I remember reading an article, man, about a ring that they some little pedophile ring that they was having in Europe, man, when they was snatching African children, taking them to Europe, right? These were soccer players, like young boys that wanted to fulfill their dream to be soccer players so they could take care of their families. So they would tell these boys, like, yeah, I'll help you fulfill your dream. Come with me. You know what I mean? And when they got there, these boys are like, say, for instance, like maybe 15, 14 years old. You know, they don't know no better because, man, they were trying to look so they could provide for their families or whatever. So they took advantage of that. So then they get there, and next you know, the boy was like, he found himself in a room full of white naked men. And they all trying to have sex with him, man. So he said he started crying, bawling out. You know? So that's why it's definitely, man, it's definitely sick, man. But this is what their culture allowed, man. Go ahead. As you can see, many other homosexual images. Look at that. Boys getting bent over, right? Look at that. Happy Easter. They hunt for Easter eggs, y'all. So as you can see, man, homosexuality, it was throughout the Greek culture, man, especially pedophilia. Go ahead. So now this is pedophilia in America. Let's read this. Let's see what pedophilia it is in the eyes of America.
Pedophilia or pedophilia is a psychiatric disorder in which an adult or older adolescent experiences a primary or exclusive sexual attraction to prepubescent children. Although girls typically begin the process of puberty at age 10 or 11, and boys at age 11 or 12,
right?
Criteria for pedophilia extends to cutoff point of prepubescence, excuse me, at age 13.
So they said the cutoff point, man, for the age of pedophilia is the age of 13, right? Go ahead.
A person who was diagnosed with pedophilia must be at least 16 years old.
Right, so you have to be at least considered 16 years old, man, to be considered a pedophile. So a 16-year-old dealt with a 16-year-old boy dealt with a 13-year-old girl, he would be considered a pedophile. That's what it's saying. Go ahead.
But adolescents must be at least 5 years older than the perpetuant child for the attraction of the diagnosed as pedophilia.
Right, so they have to be 5 years older than the actual child that they're dealing with, okay, to be considered a pedophile or to be diagnosed with pedophilia. Go ahead.
Pedophilia is termed pedophilic disorder in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders.
So they consider it a mental disorder, right? Yeah, it's a mental disorder, but we also call it a wild affection too, man. Lasciviousness, man. They have no control over themselves whatsoever. All right, go ahead.
And the manual defines it as a paraphilia involving intense and recurrent sexual urges towards the fantasies about a perpetuant children.
Right. So they have these reoccurring sexual these reoccurring sexual desires towards prepubescent children, man. Disgusting. Right? But just imagine how they was able to practice this in the Greek culture and society. You see what I'm saying? Openly at that, right? So it said that a man could sit there and court a young boy, right? He could do that, and nobody put him under fire for that, right? But see, here in America, you know, you would literally go to jail, and then of course in prison, man, they pretty much cleanse you. The inmates in there cleanse your behind, man. If they find out, man, you sat there, you raped or you were a child molester or a pedophile. You know what I mean? Because many of them brothers in there got children, man, so they're not gonna tolerate that. You see? But go ahead.
Children that have either been acted upon or which cause the person with the attraction distress or interpersonal difficulty. The International Classification of Disease defines it as sexual preference for children of pubertal or early pubertal age.
Uh-huh. Okay, go ahead. So now, as you can see, this is an image of a designer, man, for these child dolls for pedophiles, right? So this man, he's the designer of them. Okay, so as you can see, these dolls should be no more than like maybe 14 years of age. All right, go ahead. Let's go to an article, man, and you can find this article on
the Atlantic.com,
uh-huh.
and it's pretty much titled, "Can Child Dolls Keep Pedophiles from Offending?"
Right. So did you hear that? It said, "Can child dolls keep pedophiles from offending?" Right. So this is dealing with those who have the problem of fantasizing about young children. Okay, which is practically disgusting. Go ahead.
Michael Cito from the University of Toronto speculated on the possible existence of two distinct populations of pedophiles,
Uh-huh.
drawing an analogy to the methadone treatment or opiate addicts. The psychiatrist hypnotized that for some pedophiles, access to the artificial child pornography or to child sex dolls could be a safer outlet for the sexual urges, reducing the likelihood that they will seek out child pornography or sex with real children.
Check that out. So that's basically what they're being created for, is to pretty much try to help the pedophile control his urges or desires for young children. Go ahead.
For others, having these substitutes might only aggravate their sense of frustration.
So for others, it may aggravate the sense of frustration, man. They desire and want the real thing. They like, oh, I have a dog, but yet I want the real thing. I want an actual child, right? Which is disgusting, man. So this is just a little bit of the article that I pulled out. You can go and read the rest of it on I'm sorry, you can go read the rest of it on the Atlantic.com, and of course and read the whole article for yourselves. All right, go ahead.
Even without supporting research, Tagaki is convinced that his products save children.
Right. So he said he don't have no supporting research on this, right? Okay, but in his mind, he's convinced that the product will save children. Go ahead.
He says, I often receive letters from buyers. He said the letters say, thanks to your dolls, I can keep from committing the crime. I hear statements like this from doctors, prep school teachers, even celebrities.
Look at that. So he said he hears these statements all the time, right? From his buyers, right? Okay, so remember, America, they're not going to allow this to come over here, right? It's illegal or it's banned over here in America. But of course, in other countries and stuff, man, they allow it. So of course, but you could still like basically ship it and things like that, man, here anyway. All right. But anyway, so he said, I still hear statements like that from doctors, prep school teachers, and even celebrities. Now check that out. So those are his customers, man. People that you see teaching your children, that man could be a pedophile. Your doctor that you take your child to see, right? Your children's doctor could be a pedophile. You know what I mean? So it's even a celebrity, man. So we already know, dealing in Hollywood, man, all of the pedophilia that goes around. You don't think Britney Spears, she was molested at a young age? Justin Timberlake, Christina Aguilera, when they was like little kids, you don't think they was victims of it? Why do you think they got to take all them drugs, man, just to drown all of that wickedness out of their mind? You know what I mean? Of messing around with them old men that they had to give themselves to in order to attain fame. We're not just talking about them, but many others, man, that had to do that wickedness to deal with the so-called fake Jew. All right, the Amalekite. Go ahead. Now this is so now this part right here, also very important for those who've seen the movie 300, dealing with the Spartans. So Sparta did not accept the pederasty. All right. So go ahead and read that, brother.
Sparta, during its Dorian Polis time, is thought to be the first city to practice athletic nudity and one of the first to formalize pederasty.
So they said they thought that they were the first ones to practice exercising in the nude, of course, and then of course they thought that they were boy lovers too, right? But in recent study, go ahead.
The nature of this relationship is in dispute among ancient sources. Xenophon, in his Constitution of the Lacedaemonians, says that Spartan customs were suited to pederasty.
Right. So it said that Spartan customs were not suited or unsuited to pederasty, meaning they didn't deal with it. All right. Go ahead.
A man might aim for idealized friendship with a boy, but a sexual relationship was considered an abomination.
Right. So be a mentor, so on and so forth, right? But to have a sexual relation with a child, that was considered an abomination to the Lacedaemonians, right? Which are your Spartans. And you'll find out here in the book of Maccabees, real quick, go to First Maccabees, chapter 12. And I want to get start at verse 5. So this is when Jonathan, okay, who was now the new high priest and leader over, the Israelites at this time that were in Judea when they were fighting against the Greeks. So he's the new military leader. So let's read this.
First Maccabees 12 and 5. And this is the copy of the letters which Jonathan wrote to the Lacedaemonians. Jonathan, the high priest, and the elders of the nation, and the priests, and the other people of the Jews, to the Lacedaemonians, their brethren send greeting.
Right, so it says their brethren say greeting. Go ahead.
There were letters sent in times past unto high priest of Darius, who resigned them among you, to signify that ye are our brethren.
Wait a minute, to signify that ye are our brethren. Meaning that y'all are our kindred, our people. You see what I'm saying? So it's showing you that the Lacedaemonians, which were the Spartans, were actual Israelites, man, that were migrated into what we know as Sparta or Greece at that time, right? Go ahead.
As the copy here underwritten does specify.
So this was a copy of the letter that was sent to the Lacedaemonians, right? From Jonathan, okay? So he was reaching out to them. He was reaching out to Sparta, all right? Because they were still independent at this time, man. But that was it. So we can go back to the thing. You can read it again from the Lacedaemonians. The Lacedaemonians said that
the Spartans' custom were unsuited to pederasty. A man might aim for idealized friendship with a boy, but a sexual relationship was considered an abomination.
It was an abomination to have a sexual relationship.
Tantamount to incest.
That's why when you look at the movie 300, man, that's why King Leonidas was like when he told the Persian the Persian ambassador, he was like, if those philosophers and boy lovers can turn you down, then of course Sparta's answer is going to be no as well. So he was clowning the Athenians, man, because he's like, hey, we know that they homosexual, we know that they like little boys, you know what I mean? But we don't get down like that in Sparta, right? So just imagine a whole warrior race, man. Go ahead, read on.
Alien's historical miscellany talks about the responsibilities of the older Spartan citizens to younger and experienced male lovers.
All right, so now go to the next slide. And you see some of the abominations, man, that the Greeks were practicing. As you can see, that was what a gymnasium was actually for. So when they say they built places of exercise in Jerusalem, right? These are the places that they were building for their Greek masters. All right. They building swimming pools, man, and what we call gymnasiums where they would wrestle in the nude, right? Then they go walk around showing off their biceps and pecs. They pecs to each other. They go butt bust one another somewhere. You see what I'm saying? Then look at that. You have an Israelite man sitting there wiping off this old faggot, this heathen. You see? Disgusting, man. So it's like, man, when it talks about, man, how our forefathers they made themselves uncircumcised, and began to follow the customs of the heathen, man. This was the result of that. All right, go ahead to the next slide. Look at that. Wrestling in the nude, man. And you see what you don't see not one woman in that damn crowd, man. All you see is men there watching the spectacle, man. Because how Greek wrestling used to go was that it was a homosexual event where the loser would get penetrated, would basically penetrate the loser. All right, you got pinned, you was penetrated. All right, so that was the disgusting act, man. And believe it or not, that's still practiced even to this very day. All right, that Greek form of wrestling. So now, as you can see, this is an Israelite man here, subject, you know what I'm saying, to young boys trying to touch on them and all that crap. This was the homosexual lifestyle of ancient Greece. All right, and we know that the scriptures say that what it says about homosexuality. Okay, me and my brother, we had went into a lesson about that. All right, called homosexuality in the Bible, and showing how the Bible is not with homosexuality, okay? But nonetheless, man, the images are disgusting, man. Go ahead. So now, as you can see here, of course, it's still being done today. Like I said, man, it ain't nothing new under the sun, as the Most High says. This magazine is called ESPN The Body, right? Where it gets all of the top athletes in the world and they pose naked for this magazine, okay? So as you can see, man, look. We just saw two Edomites flexing in the video, man. Now you see this is a brother doing the same thing, right? You got Odell Beckham, man, Jr. doing the same thing. Look at that. Sold just like the scripture say, you sold yourselves for nothing, man. Look at that. And that's what our people lower themselves to. But of course, they get paid a pretty penny, man. And like I said, man, when we go into feast of dedication, you'll see that many of the priests, man, gave up, you know, on the allowance of the Most High, man, and began to follow the allowance of the heathen, right? They said, well, you know what, we'll make way more money dealing with the heathen than what we'll get dealing with the Most High, right? How evil is that? That's damn evil, man, for real. But this is the wickedness, man, that, you know what I'm saying, that Esau still performs even until this very day, man. That's why can't nobody tell me nothing that Esau's not the white man. You stupid in your mind, man. All of his spiritual characteristics and trait followed him here to America. Ain't nothing changed, man, from when he came out of the caves of what we call Petra or Edom, going into the caves of the Caucasus, going into Europe, and then going into the rest of Europe, man, and coming over here to the Americas. Ain't nothing changed. He's still the same profane, wicked, homosexual creature that you'll see, man, throughout history. All right. Many other nations practice homosexuality, but none to the extent of how the so-called Indo-European practices homosexuality. Okay. So of course, you know, that was excuse me, that was the lesson. Okay, on Greek abominations. So you got to go back. Hold on,
Oh, here, go here.
Yeah, go back. You know, you're pretty much joining it. Go ahead, press join. Go ahead.
There we go.
Of course, that was the lesson, man, on Greek abominations and Hellenization. You know, I hope brothers and sisters got something from it, man. Definitely go back and check the references that were given. You know, the information that was given. You can also, you know, go and research the information for yourselves, man. Ain't nothing that I'm saying is not true. It's true. The Greeks were homosexuals. They were pedophiles, man. And of course, their children, right? Their descendants still practice it even until this very day here in America, right? But it's not as free. It's not freely. It's not done as freely as it was back then. All right. So many of them may get sexually frustrated and things of that nature, man, because they gotta hide. All right, just like a homosexual in the closet, man. How they just dying to come out, and there's nothing they can do about because they're not socially acceptable in society, and they'll get destroyed wherever they go, talked about or labeled. Absolutely, man. It's the same thing for a pedophile. So of course, man, their spirit is dying to get a hold of some children and all of that, man, especially young boys, man. So of course, thank you all again for, logging into another Sons of Isaac Israelite Congregation lesson. Tomorrow, what I'm saying, we will continue the edification of our nation. Uh, at 5 o'clock or at 5 p.m. That's when we'll have our next lesson. So we also have our Feast of Dedication coming up next week. And also we have our Monday class also coming up. I'll be going into Persians and the Medes and dealing with their history. So, you could definitely join us. Join us on Mondays at 7 p.m. All right. And, definitely get some knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, man, according to the Bible. Okay. So, of course, again, you can go to the description box and you'll see that our information on there. Definitely, you can email us, on that email that's in the description box. And also, if you cannot, watch the YouTube or the live stream, you can also call into our conference line and, listen from there as well. I will have that open. So, again, all praises to the Most High and His Son Yahweh Shai, for the great understanding. Of course, if there are any questions, definitely hit them in the comment box right now, because I'm about to check it. I'll check the comment box or the comment board real quick. Yeah, sorry about that, Sister Azaria. It was running really slow.
We'll have the kinks worked out for next week or
Think
whenever we have another presentation.
I think it's your boy laptop. So
Blame it on the laptop.
yeah. So of course, see any questions? We'll be able to answer them for you. Yes, I'm laughing my butt off too.
Trying to gang up on me over here. It's all right. Once again, we do appreciate you guys tuning in on this wonderful Sabbath. Feast of Dedication next week.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to that.
Yes, I will be going in. We'll be going in
live from Pasadena, California. No questions.
No questions, man. So we pretty much will close out. We'll send up our prayers. Excuse me. Oh yeah, man. If I sounded a little funny, y'all, it's because I got a little cold, man. So just kicking my butt. So if I sound like I was like choking or something, that's what it was. So so other than that, man, we'll send up our prayers, man, and we'll close out. So we'll rise and we'll face the east and send up our holy prayers. That should go on.
grab it. Do some of the prayers. When we close up.
Why not? Time to say prayer. Come on. Put your arm up. Come on, put your arm up. You, pay attention. Turn around. Put your arm up.
Blessings be to you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai. Please hear our prayers. Father, we thank you for the beautiful lesson that you gave us this evening. We just ask, oh Lord, that you just allow our spirits to be diligent, Heavenly Father, in going back over the information that was presented and just allowing us to, just use it in our knowledge, in our walk of our everyday life. We just thank you, Heavenly Father, and praise you, Lord, for just another blessed, holy and blessed Sabbath day where we can rest and relax and go over your scriptures and learn more about how we may please you. Please, Heavenly Father, just allow those who are not able to be here this evening to bless them, O Lord, and keep them strong. And all those, O Lord, who were able to watch, we just ask and we just pray that you just let their knowledge increase. Heavenly Father, in the name of Yahweh Shai, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Abanawa, Shabashamayam, Kodash, Haya, Shoka, Yahweh, Malakuka, Taba'a, Batazaka, Haya, Aisha, Mawataza, Kowa, Haya, Bashamayam, Melanawa, Lakanza, Yahweh, Wasalak Nawa, Kawak Nawa, Kasalak Nawa, Kawak Nawa, Walaha, Tabayan Nawa, Wansaiwa, Babo, Awashai Nawa, Man, Wai, Kaya, Lakan, Amalakwa, Walahala, Wakapa, Ran, Ahalami, Tabaya House, Tabaya House. Now for the Lord's Prayer in English according to Matthew chapter 6 and the 9th verse. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us of our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen.
You could go on.
Shalom.